This is my technology lesson plan, Celery Plant Lab Screencast. Um, I teach first grade, so this is a first grade lesson. The science standards that were covered are S1, L1, which is a life science standard. Students will be able to investigate the characteristics and basic needs of plants and animals. We're just focusing on plants. They should be able to tell us that plants need air, water, light, and nutrients, and identify the basic parts of a plant. The ISTE or the NETS standards under creativity and innovation. They're to use models to explore complex systems and issues, communicate and collaborate, research information, be able to critically think, problem solve, and make decisions, digital citizenship, and use technology to understand basic concepts. The objectives of the lesson: students will understand that plants and animals inhabit different environments and have different features that help them survive in different places. Our main focus again is plants, but the state says that we have to teach plants and animals together, so that's why animals is being mentioned. They should be able to tell us that plants need air, water, light, and nutrients, the functions of a plant, what each part of the plant does, and how water travels through the plants, providing nutrients by completing the lab. Essential questions: are there plants that don't need much water to survive? If so, what are they, and why don't they need much water? How does water travel through plant stems? And can we determine how a directed light source influences the rate at which water travels through plant stems? Resources that we use for this particular lab: the whole class had document camera and iPads and projector. And of course, I modeled it for my little people. Each group had a tray with celery, stalk with the leaves attached, a knife, water, food coloring. Every child had their science notebooks, sticky notes, pens, rulers, all that kind of stuff. This lesson took place inside the classroom and outside, so you'll see pictures later of us in the classroom, on the playground, just everywhere they were comfortable with their learning. The assessments that we used, they had to illustrate and write, which is a big deal for them being first graders, and increase the rigor with the assignment, with having to put words with their pictures. So these are the forms that I use to assess my children. This was the ultimate assessment, where after we did everything, they had to cut and paste the part of the plant and put it onto the plant and tell what it did, what each part of the plant actually does. The rubrics: they had a group work rubric where they grade themselves, and then a science notebook rubric, which I use to grade their journal entries. Differentiation is a huge part of education. They were in cooperative groups, which is a part of differentiation. I had videos for those low learners. I had pictures for those students who are visual learners. We deconstructed the standards and went through the vocabulary, which we call vocabulary walks, where we go through and we identify the words that we don't know. We use context clues to try to figure out what they mean. And so when they go off and work in their small groups, they're not caught off guard. Now we're going to get into the actual experiment. If it'll play. So these are pictures of the actual experiment. Of course, there was the group that made a mess. This is John editing his video on the computer, a picture of the celery plants a couple of days after the original start date. Of course, there's another mess because they're little people, and that's just what they do. This is us on the playground. They're measuring how far up the water has gone. They're journaling their findings. This is a completed assessment. Of course, safety first with the goggles. That's John. Again, you can see the groupings. You can see them just having fun and like really just amazed by what they're creating, which was the coolest part of this whole thing. Is they could not believe that they were the ones who were able to, make the plants do these things. And it was completely awesome seeing their growth. So, this is my reflection. Spills happen with little people. Don't panic. I have to keep telling myself this over and over and over again as I adjust to teaching first grade. Um, I realized that during this assignment, I need to structure their turn and talk. That way, we preserve our instructional time, which is limited when teaching science. We get 45 minutes a day teaching science. So it's very important for me to give them talking points so that they stay on task. And I always have to have something for my early finishers. There were a couple of days during this activity where Miss Garbon finished, and it just kind of completely messed up everybody else. So I have to plan better for that the next time. Other than that, I think the lesson went very well. I think they enjoyed it. I think they learned, you know, how water travels up the stem and it spreads out to the leaves, and they learned about xylem and phylum, and they couldn't wait to tell the big kids that they learned about phylum and xylem. And um, I think that it was a very successful lab. And that is my technology lesson plan.